Hello again, everybody. This is Craig Evans of Autism Hangout, and thank you for tuning into this Autism Hangout special report. Of the 1.5 million kids out there that have been diagnosed with autism, 80% of them are under the age of 18. But for the 20% that's passed through the educational system, life after high school awaits. So, what choices do our special young adults have? And is there a way to help them better their odds of success? Well, those facing these questions, for all of them, there's a new book out there that's got some sound advice. It's called Life After High School, A Guide for Students with Disabilities and Their Families. Jessica Kingsley is the publisher. And with me today are its two authors. Autism Hangout, please welcome Christina, Cacioppo, Bertsch, and Susan Yellin. Welcome, ladies. It's nice to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you for having us, Craig.
Well, ladies, I do know that you both individually have been very involved in working with kids on the spectrum as they come to college. Now, what inspired you to take the time to put together this book, and what are some of the key messages of your book?
I'm going to start because I think it was originally my idea, Craig. I had known Christina for a while. She had been a speaker at programs I ran. I have 3 sons, the youngest of whom has complex medical and learning issues. So I became involved in this and eventually left practicing law to found a nonprofit, something called the Center for Learning Differences, which we founded in about 2002, 2003. Since 2006, the Center for Learning Differences has been running an annual program that I developed called Life After High School, looking at students with, in that case, specifically learning disabilities, although our book is much broader, and looking at the issues that they needed to face. We brought in colleges and post-secondary programs that work very well with students. We visited some, we got to know a lot of them. We brought in keynote speakers. In fact, Christina was one of our speakers. And we present this every year, both here in the New York metro area at various locations, and we focus on both local schools and national programs. And parents would come and ask questions, and it was so frustrating. There are dozens and dozens of books on strictly learning issues, but there was nothing that dealt with broader issues. And that's what motivated the two of us to get together, meeting regularly at local diners and Starbucks, to write this book.
Where I've gotten to where I am in terms of my inspiration for the book and my motivation, professionally and personally. Personally, my youngest sister was diagnosed with a learning disability and attention deficit disorder back when she was in 1st grade. So to see her go through school and then go through the process of applying to college and finding a college that has the right support and the information not being available to her and my family, that was the big motivation for me in terms of getting into my professional work. I worked at Fordham University and I was the director of Disability Services. And that was where I saw many students and families coming to me, and they didn't know what their disability rights were. They didn't know, for example, that the IDEA ends in high school. And they didn't know that different colleges had different supports offered. So really from there, when I resigned from Fordham to start my own family and to start my own private business, where I work with students transitioning them from high school to college, that was where I said, you know what, I have to get this information out to students and families before they choose where to go to college. That way they had all the information up front during the high school years.
If the book isn't fun to read, isn't interesting, isn't accessible to students, we both have shelves filled with books that we use as references perhaps, but nobody's going to want to sit down and read. We've made a point of using stories of real students. We've changed names, but these are people we've really worked with, run into, lived with, and doing that makes it very real.
I do know that in your book that you've taken more of a focus on the fact that you encourage people and you give tips as to how they can better plan for their success and key things like self-advocacy. So can we talk about how your book is different from most of the other books that have been out there so far?
I think the two big issues in terms of how our book is different, one would be that we don't just address, the book isn't just for students with learning disabilities or attention deficit disorder or even autism spectrum disorders. It's for students with all types of disabilities. So we're talking about all of those students, but how about students with, with Crohn's disease Or how about a student that has cystic fibrosis? All those different disabilities that there's really not too much information out there for in terms of transitioning to college. That would be one thing.
We also mentioned psychiatric disorders, and Craig, it's important for even individuals who may say, well, this doesn't apply to me, I only have an autism spectrum issue, and none of these other things, is the concept of comorbidities. A lot of students have more than one issue. A student with an autism spectrum difficulty may find that they're also depressed. They may find that they have a medical issue. That doesn't, just because you have one problem, unfortunately, you don't get a pass on the rest of the issues that come up in the world. And we also, by the way, talk about the workplace. We have an entire chapter on what workplace issues are, vocational rehabilitation. Even the military is an option, and when it is and isn't possible.
I do know that your case study approach, actually showing examples of people that have gone through things, is an excellent one. Could you offer 2 or 3 pieces of wisdom from the book this morning?
We have a chapter on competencies, and we deal with kids who have difficulty managing their own finances. The other is a boy who has, or a young man who has difficulty with arithmetic and understanding math concepts, and therefore is unable to control his finances. And these are people we've actually known and worked with. We also do an extensive case study focusing on one individual in particular in a chapter we titled Medical Management Without Mom. I know the gentleman that we profiled quite well, and he's got a lot of different issues, and because of that, we're able to look at things from different perspectives. You can't take a pill if you can't find it, those really basic things. So those are some of the ways that the stories make things real, because they are real. These are not hypotheticals. These are real people. Some of them do great, and some of them continue to struggle all the time.
Begin early in terms of collecting documentation for your child in regard to the IEPs, the 504 plans. Keep all of those in a folder that you guard with your life. Begin early also with SAT accommodations or ACT accommodations. Don't wait till the last minute, because many times you need 6 months to apply, then it gets kicked back saying, no, you can't have those accommodations. So you really have to start early in doing your own research on colleges, getting applications for support programs at colleges, standardized testing accommodations, all that. The earlier that you start, the better.
Excellent. Do you have some other resources in the book for people?
Every chapter has resources broken down by chapter and then by the type of resource. So if you're interested in learning more about some of the legal issues, we tell you where you can go for that.
Excellent.
If you're interested in learning more about a specific medical condition or a specific support group, because we do urge people to learn about whatever issues they're facing and to work with support groups. There's an entire chapter at the end devoted to resources for whatever it is that you want to take further.
Excellent. It's exciting for me to find people such as you that have taken the time to put this information together in one place, because it's very, very helpful to the parents that are hoping that their kids have an opportunity to succeed in college. Ladies, where can people go to get more information about your book?
We have a website, Christina.
Yes, www.lifeafterhsbook.com. Is that right?
Yes, lifeafterhsbook.com.
Excellent.
The book is also available for pre-order on the major online retailers. We know that Amazon.com not only has the book available for pre-order, but has our biographies, and as well has a link to a blog I write.
Ladies, thank you for joining us today. It's just a delight to have you here. I hope that at some point in the future you'll come back and talk to us again about your book and perhaps some of the new case studies you're finding, especially those that have to deal with people succeeding in going to college.
Thanks, Craig. It was great to be with you.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Autism Hangout. Thank you for tuning in. I'll be back again soon with another special report.